in the trades. If we can go out to our business leaders and actually talk to some of our business leaders after school and say, we have some students interested in doing this kind of work. Would you be interested in working with us? To let the students come out and get the hands-on experience at your business. That's what's important. If we follow what the school board did, I guess we wouldn't have raised the taxes this year in our budget in the city. Having said that, the city needs to run its own business, and the school boards and the county boards need to run their business. But we need to work hand in hand if there's something that we can do in the transportation or building buildings. The CTEC building that's going up here is going to open up more classrooms, so the Rochester School District doesn't have to build more schools right away, because the kids are going to be coming out of there going to that building. So that's important that as business leaders in Rochester, we need to get with our business leaders and build more.
Thank you. Are there any rebuttals? Yes, there is. Thank you.
One thing that may make me a different candidate, and I may be wrong or I may be right, but I want to assure the people of Rochester one thing. When there are 300 kids that are homeless in our school district through no fault of their own, it is my problem. You will have a city council president who will engage with that problem. It is your problem as well. It is all of your problems. This is a community issue, and I will stand up for every voice in this community. I will work with any group to get it done.
Thank you. Any other rebuttal? Our next question again comes from the Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to begin with Mr. Throndson.
Tell us about a time when you put your views aside and brought people together to come to a decision on an issue.
Can you say that again?
Yep. Tell us about a time when you put your views aside and brought people together to come to a decision on an issue.
Serving on the federal wage grade survey in Minneapolis for 23 years, I had to work with a committee to go out to the Fortune 500 companies. That's how the federal employees out here in the wage grade received their wages. I had to work with the committee and tell them exactly how important this was, to be able to go out and put the right foot forward, to be able to talk to these companies because they didn't have to talk to us. 23 years I did that so we could get the prevailing wage that went out there. It was hard to do and try to explain to the people how important this really was. And so I worked with a lot of committees and done a lot of committees. Number one is you open your ears and you listen. And once you listen, you can make your educated decision, and by doing that, you bring people together.
Thank you, Mr. Staver.
Well, there are many examples as we conduct our council business, but I'll choose a very simple one that I think that we can all relate to, and that's that crow issue that we've been dealing with the last several months. Many people, as even stated this evening, believe that we should focus on higher level topics. Well, unfortunately, we're public servants. We work for you. So we work on the issues that you bring before us. So I was able to set aside some of those other things, find the time, engage 3 federal agencies to come together to try to find some solutions. I'd like to think we're having an impact. You all are the proof of that. And you know, but we have to tackle all of those things. And so that's where we do set aside some of the priorities on occasion, and we reprioritize, but we get the job done, and that's what's important. We respond to you. You are our bosses.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
I guess the example that comes to my mind is when we were serving on the county board. I think it involved the Human Rights Commission. For whatever reason, there was a vote by the city to discontinue the jurisdiction of the Human Rights Commission under the city umbrella. And of course, some of my county counterparts on the county board, thought it was a county issue, but the human rights is everybody's issue. And the vote eventually did pass by the county board to keep the Human Rights Commission intact, and that then became under the jurisdiction or umbrella of the county.
Thank you, Mr. Wojcik.
Well, first of all, Jeff, let me personally say thank you for being involved in that, because that was absolutely critical. We, the city of Rochester, failed our people because we did not have the courage to stand up for the equality of the LGBT community. The county stepped in and did it for us. I believe we've grown as a city since then, but it's to the eternal shame of the city that happened in the first place. I want to talk a little bit about Orchard Hills Villas. It was a development that happened right in my backyard, and what happened there was we had some quirks with the state law at the time, and we had some neighbors who didn't want anything to go in there. We had a lot of concerns about it. We had a developer who had a good project, and what we actually ended up doing is sitting down, writing up some special district language. And I tell you what, it didn't make anyone happy, but you go up there today, you have a beautiful, successful development, and not all of the critics have been appeased by what we got done, but you know what, we got a great project done and a great infill development, a great site in the city. A lot of people are happy with the results. It's helped our community, it put a lot of people to work. So not everyone's always gonna be happy, but that was a great example of working together.
Thank you. Are there any rebuttals? All right, our next question from the audience. The question will be offered to Mr. Thompson first. How do you balance the needs of your constituents, the regular citizens, including the seniors, with the wants of the business community?
Well, as I said, we live in a democracy, and we have public hearings on any important issue, and everybody has the right to be heard. We all know, not only locally or regionally, but nationally, we're aging as a population, and I think especially so in Rochester, because of our great medical care, a lot of seniors across the country like to come here to live because of the medical care. And I think that's one thing I've noticed in Rochester the last 20 years. There's probably been as many senior developments as there's been any other type of developments, and I think that trend will continue, whether it's a High Point or Madonna Meadows or whatever, that's gonna continue. But I think everybody has a say in the issue, and we just listen as part of the democratic process, and that's why we have 7 votes. We need 1 vote to break the tie, but as Randy says, we should listen first and make the decision last.
Thank you. Mr. Wojcik?
Well, this question isn't fair. I don't get the senior discount up here.
You will. You'll come quick enough.
God willing, I will. I'm hoping to be there someday. What I would say is, first of all, I reject the premise of the question, because how many of you here are seniors and have a business? I know there's a lot of people watching too that are in this situation. But let's talk about setting up fair processes so not everybody necessarily gets their way, but they get a say in the process. That is incredibly important to me. If you have a fair process established, at least both sides can come in with reasonable expectations of how the process will go. They can be heard out. And I also believe that a lot of what we can do is actually shared solutions. This is not a one versus the other situation. Some of the needs of the business community overlap very nicely with the needs of senior citizens in the community. I would point first and foremost to a great transit system. We don't have a transit system right now. We have a Mayo Clinic employee shuttle that works great if you work normal business hours. If you actually need to rely on the transportation system to get somewhere, it doesn't work. We can solve that problem for both groups.
Thank you, Mr. Throndson.
A good example is that you have to go back to the grassroots. We have to go, the business community's got to go back to the neighborhoods, and we got to listen to what the neighborhoods want. I sat this last fall out to Slatterly, and I watched almost a fist fight come out at that meeting because it wasn't transparent. From that point on, it's changed differently because business, as it was, and the plan wanted to encroach. They felt they wanted to encroach on their, when they talk about senior citizens, that's what I am, and nobody, after you work all those years, wants your home taken away from you. 5th on 5th project is another one in the neighborhood of Southwest has stood up tremendously to support what they want in their neighborhood. But to do that, if you work and you're transparent from conception to completion, you have to learn that there's got to be compromise. And if you can compromise and everybody goes ahead and the project moves forward, you might not all like it, but at least you've had the say in it and a choice. And that's what I'm seeing in Southwest, that's what I saw in Slatterly, and that's what needs to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Staver.
Well, I'll probably reiterate some of the points that have been made already, but certainly communication is fundamental to that process. When we talk about the balance between business and the community, it doesn't have to be an either-or situation. We can find that balance, but it's first and foremost rooted in communication. Getting the neighborhoods involved early on. When we talk about visioning exercises and we talk about things that we would like to see happen in areas of our community and our city, we need to get those folks involved early. in the discussions. In terms of the development process, something that we've been working on now for the last couple of years, it needs to be fair, it needs to be consistent, it needs to be well understood so that people feel like they're being treated fairly in the system. They're not making the rules up as we go along. So again, I believe communication is key, and then from there we can build those partnerships, and we will achieve that balance.
Thank you. Do we have any rebuttals? All right. Our next question comes from the audience. This is regarding the Mayo Civic Center, and we're going to begin with Mr. Wojcik. The City Council is constantly pushing for Mayo Civic Center expansion. How do you incorporate its being landlocked and add an increased maximum of 3,000 into the planning? 3,000 square feet? How do you...
Well, now wait a minute. If you can't read it, I can't answer it.
All right. Well, I'm going to. How do you incorporate the fact that it is landlocked and you want to expand it?
Very, very fair question. Ultimately, location is everything when you're talking about this. This is not just a convention center, it's a civic center, it's a cornerstone to the arts and culture that this community has to offer. It needs to be where it is for a lot of reasons. Ultimately, what we have to realize is we have a lot of potential to do more. It's not just about expanding this thing, it's about fixing up the venues that we already have, it's about making the investments that have been put off for a number of reasons for years, and more importantly, it's about once we have a world-class facility in place, making sure that we have the tools, the resources, and the plans in place to keep it a strong facility on into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Throndson?
I think the Civic Center is an important part of this community. If we want to continue to grow and move forward, we need it. What's saying that is we need to take care of what's already there. The question the other day was put out there at the builders, the question, if the roof's leaking, we have water coming in, 37 years in the trades, I'll tell you, you got to stop the water from coming on the roof and the sides of the building, or you will have nothing, your structure will fail. I was here during the flood. The taxpayers were told, if you build this arena for us, we'll take care of it. Guess what? It's in ill repair in some areas. We need to take care of it. But I support the Civic Center moving forward because that's a whole different dilemma and a whole different dynamics that we have going with the Civic. We will still have the theater to do the arts and things, but we need a bigger convention center so we can sponsor bigger conventions to come into Rochester.
Thank you. Mr. Staver?
Well, I think the original part of the question was whether we feel it's landlocked and what that brings to the table. Certainly it has some constraints. It's not entirely landlocked in my opinion, but maybe more to the point is we've got a great opportunity here. This is the Mayo Civic Center, and I don't think, we can't lose sight of the fact that it's civic. It's a community asset. We've used it for decades for support of a number of community activities. We need to make sure that those continue into the future. Certainly we can look to the future as well in terms of conventions, activity, the expansion that we talk about. And again, as we're looking at the operational aspect currently, we want to make that function even better as both a civic center and a convention center. It can be both, it really can. But we need to make sure that we do so, proceed in a very thoughtful manner with due diligence. So we think we can do it.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, that kind of goes back to my rebuttal question. You know, when I was born 50-some years ago, since that time, Rochester has tripled in size. If Rochester triples in size, the next 50 years, we're looking at being larger than Minneapolis and St. Paul. Well, I can tell you that the Civic Center is important. We got to maintain that. That's part of our legacy here at Mayo Civic. But we're at some point in time, we're still going to need a larger venue somewhere else to hold some of the other events, whether it's concerts, performing arts centers, ballet, these type of things as we grow larger. We're next to the river there. When we built the River's Edge project, when I was on the county board, we couldn't do underground parking because of the hydrology issue with the river. You know, how much expansion, additional weight there, I don't know. Those are, you know, technology concerned, architectural, but there is a limitation on size, just like when we built the courthouse. We thought we had enough room, we didn't. Now we've got this whole campus here. We spent a lot of money moving departments back and forth from campus to the main government center here. We're growing so fast, we need more room.
Thank you. Are there any rebuttals? Our next question from the audience. I would like for you to talk about what the most important part of the City Council's vision of the future is to you. We'll begin with Mr. Throndson.
The vision is growth, and how are we going to continue to grow jobs here in Rochester? To me, that is job one. We need to have the education as City Council. I keep going back. I spent 37 years of my life in the trades. We need to build the schools for trades. We need to bring people here to learn, because in a one-horse town, if you only have one thing, if they leave, you've got nothing. Again, IBM is talking about losing employees. If mail cuts back, we need to do growth in different areas in small business. I think Rochester needs to grow its small business, because not everybody coming to Rochester will work for mail. Their spouse might, but their spouses have different interests. So therefore, as a community, we got to grow smaller businesses and have things for them to do and make the money to make a prosperous community.
Thank you, Mr. Staver.
Well, the most important part of managing our vision for the future, I think, is managing growth and all that goes with that. Certainly we need to be very thoughtful in terms of how we plan infrastructure, how we allocate space for schools and more fire stations and all of the public services that we're going to need to support that sort of growth. Certainly jobs, that's a fundamental concern that I have. We certainly seek to bring the best and the brightest to our community. We treasure that, but we also need skilled labor. We need people to do the electrical and the plumbing and the trades. We need to emphasize those skills as well. So we need to be able to plan for the future in terms of our infrastructure services and the kinds of jobs and so forth that we'll need to service all elements of our community.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, without question, it's the growth issue. We're going to triple, quadruple in size in my estimation in the next 35, 50 years here. We need sensible growth. I think the county and the city probably have done good jobs with the comprehensive land use plan, the Clues model. Stephanie Podolski's in the audience. She knows a lot about the Clues model. But I remember how many times did we pay Mr. Muffler to move, going back to the courthouse when that was built. We can't make those kind of mistakes in the future. We're not going to have the resources. We have to be very select and careful in our growth, and because we're not going to have the resources to make multiple mistakes with that growth. And with the growth, as I say, there's going to be a lot of crime issues that comes with growth, and we have to deal with all those issues. And Rochester has a great tradition of dealing with growth, and we have great staff. We tend to emphasize the negative here, but there's a lot of great things about Rochester. That's what made us the #1 city.
Thank you, Mr. Wojcik.
We have a lot of tremendously talented people that come here, engineers, architects, doctors, lawyers. We have a lot of great skills tradespeople that come here as well. But when I was growing up in the Birch Lane Trailer Court, my mother worked at a gas station. She worked nights at a hotel, and she didn't make a lot of money. And ultimately, how we're going to be judged is how we treat all of the community. It's important that we don't be a community of haves and have-nots. When you talk about the issues of crime, it all stems from poverty. Hungry kids do not learn. We have to make sure that we build a community so that all of our neighborhoods are great. It is not okay that we have neighborhoods in the city that start to fall apart and start to decay. That denies a child an opportunity that they're going to have. I'm the person that will go into every one of my neighborhoods, whether it be Kutsky Park or whether it be high up on the hill, because I am an unquestioned champion for all of the neighborhoods of Rochester and all of the people of Rochester.
Rebuttal.
Thank you. Just going back to the growth issue, I think one of the things that's important here with the DMC initiative is diversity in our job structure here. We don't want to be a one company town, a one horse town. We got to have diverse economics here, have to attract more Fortune 500 companies. That's one thing Minneapolis has. I think they have about every presence of every Fortune 500 company in the metro, and we need some of that in Rochester. And maybe the PMC initiative will help us accomplish that. Ready brought some new businesses like Ryco, been a big success, for example.
Any other rebuttals? All right, our next question from the audience will be offered first to Mr. Thompson. Now, would you be in favor of having the League of Minnesota Cities lobby the state legislature to remove the requirements of having cities pay state sales tax on city infrastructure projects?
And I'll be the person to ask. Would you read it one more time?
Yes,
Would you
yes.
read it one more time? That's a mouthful.
I even left out part of it. Would you be in favor of having the League of Minnesota Cities lobby the state legislature? Why, you may ask? To remove the requirements of having cities pay state sales tax on city infrastructure improvements.
I don't think so. I think sales tax is what's helped make Rochester what it is today, starting with the great flood control project. I think that's kind of counterintuitive to me. The small sales tax with all the tourists, the out-of-town people that come through, at least our city, that wouldn't make any sense at all. I don't see how that would benefit Rochester one bit with all the people we have come through out of town to pay and contribute to our sales tax. That's what helps. It's going to help build all this infrastructure we're talking about. So that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Ultimately, anytime you start cutting taxes in one area and you're not adjusting the budget, you're just forcing it somewhere else. And Rochester's been a victim of this for a very long time. Every year we send $90 million more up to St. Paul than we get back. And ultimately that's the results of games being played elsewhere. Whether or not we cut the sales tax on city projects here that goes to the state is a small number relative to the larger things that are in play. That's why Destination Medical Center is such an opportunity for us, because it's a chance to actually take some of those tax revenues that we generate here in the community and keep them here in the community. In terms of how we use the League of Minnesota Cities to advocate on our behalf, I believe that pushing hard for the Destination Medical Center and the taxing strategy that has is a far wiser solution in terms of getting projects done here.
Thank you. Mr. Throndson.
If I understand your question right, I guess I would say that if the city's projects, if we pay the sales tax, who's paying it? Us. So if the project goes forward and we don't pay the sales tax on the project, we're only saving ourselves money, which takes less money to do the project. If we pay the sales tax, it just puts the cost up. So if I understand your question right, you asked, should we pay the sales tax on city projects? And I would say that it's two handfuls. It doesn't make any sense to take the money from us, charge us the sales tax, and then you take it back. So if any way that you could look at these projects and say, the city project, you don't pay the sales tax on it, when the contractor comes in and you watch that, then you're only saving your money, which brings the cost of the project down. If it's $1 million project and you pay sales tax on $1 million and you don't pay that, the project comes down. So if I understand your question right, I would say that it makes sense.
Thank you. Mr. Staver?
That one is a little tricky in that, as had been stated, if you push one spot, it'll pop up in another. So if we decrease the sales tax on one area, we need to find those funds elsewhere. Also has been stated, the sales tax is a great mechanism as we bring in visitors and from outstate. They contribute to the betterment of our community. Sales tax, I think it's a broader topic than that. We talk about sales tax, we talk about local government aid, and we talk about balance. We talk about whatever we send to St. Paul, are we distributing that fairly to the communities, not just Rochester, but our surrounding neighbors? Are they getting their fair share of what they need from any of the tax revenues so that they all grow as well as Rochester has been able to grow? Strong neighbors make for a strong neighborhood, and I'd like to see all of our neighbors benefit even more so than the city of Rochester. But it is a tricky balance, and so I would probably not advocate for the League of Minnesota Cities to make a change in that area.
Thank you. Do we have any rebuttals? Our next question. Oh, a rebuttal.
It just strikes me, one of the things that we need to do a better job of, historically the last 50 plus years, it seems like, northern Minnesota has gotten a lot of infrastructure, probably thanks in part to Jim Overstart, but it seems like, having gone to U of M, lived up in Minneapolis, St. Paul those 10 years, it seems like they always get a bigger chunk of the pie. We got the new Twin Stadium up there, we got the new Viking Stadium, the new St. Paul Saint Stadium, Taj Mahal, Crosstown area, and we got blacktop for the oldest road in the state of Minnesota, the busiest road, the Beltline. We got blacktop for just a $500,000 more. We got concrete. We just need a better job of getting a bigger source of that revenue pie up there.
Thank you. Any other rebuttal? All right, I think this is a short question. When did you first become involved in the DMC legislative discussion? And did anyone sign a confidentiality agreement? And we'll go first to Mr. Staver.
I'm sorry, could you repeat just at least the last part of that question?
The question was, when did you first become involved in the DMC legislative discussion? And the second part is, did anyone sign a confidentiality agreement?
Okay. Speaking for myself and at least most of the members of the city council, we became engaged, I would say 60 days or so ago, when Mayo Clinic brought us into the discussion, introduced us to the legislative language that they intended to hopefully introduce this session. We were given an opportunity to meet with Mayo Clinic officials and comment on the legislative language, and they did listen to us. They made several substantive changes prior to introducing the legislation. Did we sign any non-disclosure agreement? No. It was a very open and honest conversation. Again, they listened to us and they made some changes based on our discussion, and we've seen the product of that as we went forward.
Mr. Wojcik?
Well, I was given the actual bill to read 22 hours before I had my meeting with Mayo, and I had a busy day that day, so I stayed up till 4:30 in the morning that night reading through the bill, every detail, every line, every reference document. Had my chance to go in and discuss it. So I wouldn't necessarily classify myself as an insider, I guess, but I did make a lot of comments, some of which, I mentioned the language for who sat on there. I didn't like that, but we as a council went forward with that language. Fortunately, some people at the state level stepped in and corrected that for us.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
I haven't had any direct involvement with the bill other than just what I've seen in the paper and listened to on the news. You read my comments in the PB. I think this initiative is great for our area, and it's going to involve all of southeast Minnesota, and given that 17 of our surrounding communities are sharing in that sales tax money, I think it's good to have some of their representation on that board, as well as the local Rochester groups, and the college, and the local businesses.
And Mr. Throndson.
I heard it probably when most of Rochester heard it, and I've become engaged in talking to a lot of people about what goes on. Because I attended, the meeting the other night, no transparency. I mean, it seems to me, as Randy says, the council knew about it, some people knew about it ahead of time. They were pushing for the sales tax. They were pushing for $20 million for destination medical and the sales tax, which passed. It makes me wonder and sit back, did they know more? Again, perception is everything. Reality is, I don't know. I believe in the DMC, I believe it's good for growth, but there again, it was kept from the people here in Rochester, and it was kind of dropped on us and said, here you are, here you go, this is what we want to do, please get behind us. Not that I'm not, but I think in the meetings and everything else, again, transparency is everything, and I believe that was not there, or the rest of us would have known way ahead of time.
Any rebuttals? Our next audience question, please speak to the importance of having a vision for this community, which includes values such as sustainability, smart growth planning, historic preservation, and strong core neighborhoods. We'll begin with Mr. Wojcik.
I swear I didn't write that question. If you understand smart growth, women's sustainability, there's 3 legs of sustainability. It's the, you know, you have the economics of sustainability, the social aspects of sustainability, and then the environmental aspects of sustainability. Sometimes we fixate on those environmental aspects, overlooking the others. I am an absolutely huge believer in smart growth. I stand for smart growth in this community. I want to see us, as we grow, let's grow right. Let's not repeat the mistakes of the past. Let's make sure that we preserve the core of our core neighborhoods. Let's create historic districts around town. Let's put a strong preservation ordinance in the state. There is no reason why the city of Rochester has to be the only large city in the state of Minnesota without a decent heritage preservation ordinance. It's absolutely unacceptable. It's time we grow up as a community and stand up for the core neighborhoods, stand up for smart growth, and do what's right by our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
I believe the vision would be that, you know, as I said earlier, we are now a first-class city, and hopefully 20, 30 years from now, Rochester will be recognized as world-class city. And as I said, it all starts with great foundation, and that starts with a great staff. Both city and the county have great staff, and that's something we need to maintain. If we want to keep what Rochester has now and build on that, we got to maintain that transition from what we have now in the next 20 years. And the core neighborhoods, I'm a Southeast product. I think Southeast is old neighborhood. Those old neighborhoods are essential to identity of Rochester. The Jonathan project, we should look at that, because that was smart growth 30, 40 years ago in the Twin Cities. Some parts worked well, some didn't. But I think for seniors that don't have transportation, I think you know, we can look at doing some of those things to improve what we have. But I think we have a great foundation in place. Let's just build on what we have.
Mr. Throndson.
I think the vision is growing small business and working with our neighborhoods and the core groups. Because without the foundation is the people of Rochester. Your history teaches you everything. You gotta know where you've been before you go on forward. We've talked about down there building a museum for the veterans that fought for this country, fought for everything we do. And that met some opposition, and they've gone back to the drawing board a little bit. But it's the people of Rochester that bring the vision forward and how we move forward with that. We involve the neighborhoods. And when you involve the neighborhoods and put that many brains together, you move forward in a positive vision. And there's nothing that can stop that positive vision if you include all. You have to be transparent, and you have to include the neighbors. I cannot say it enough. The neighborhoods are the core value of the city. And my vision is that you invest in the citizens, you invest in the education process, and the city will grow way beyond what anyone can imagine.